this past summer, giving us a peek as to what are some of the things we can expect in Season 3 of Star Wars Rebels. I'm Pablo Hidalgo from Lucasfilm. I'm a member of the story group. I've been fortunate to be part of the development team with Star Wars Rebels since the very beginning, and I'm going back to 2012, when folks like Dave Filoni, Simon Kinberg, Kiri Hart, Carrie Beck, Henry Gilroy, and Greg Weisman all got together and began laying down the foundations of this series. And it makes me very happy, it makes all of us at Lucasfilm very happy to see how quickly Rebels was accepted by Star Wars fans. There were so many unknowns going into it, but it's proving that all our creative instincts have proved correct, That's often the scary thing about animation. We work with such a long lead time that it's almost impossible to be reactive. If the audience expresses something, whether positive or negative, we're already so far ahead of whatever it is that triggered that reaction that it is way in our past because we're just moving forward. So with that in mind, I can tell you that some of the ideas that are going to be in Season 3 have been percolating since before Season 1, when we were putting together the plan for Rebels. So let's get into what Season 3 means for our heroes and how the status quo was irrevocably shaken up at the end of Season 2. For those who have missed it, attending Celebration Europe, on behalf of the show were Sam Witwer, the voice of Maul, Tia Sircar, the voice of Sabine. Here they are with supervising director and executive producer Dave Filoni and stage host Warwick Davis. Now, if schedules and travel budgets had permitted it, we would have sent the whole cast to Europe to go to this panel. Hell, we would have brought them all here to join me on the stage. But there's no accident that Tia and Sam are being singled out, because with Sam, we've once again let the Sith out of the bottle. Maul is once again running loose in the galaxy. And that's what happened at the end of Season 2. And with Tia, it's because of what lies ahead for Sabine in the upcoming episodes of Season 3. She's really going to have a much larger, more central role to play in some of the storylines that are coming up in Season 3. So all the characters have undergone some change, some more drastic than others. Sabine Wren, now a full-fledged rebel. She's buried all that uncertainty you may have seen in her in Season 1. Her commitment really shows itself in some of the missions that she undertakes in Season 3. Seen here, she's sporting some new paint on her armor in the galaxy. He's driven by an age-old hunger for vengeance that has clouded his sanity, but it nonetheless gives him purpose. He's a dark side trickster, really. And he likes to imagine Ezra to be his apprentice, and to maybe someday continue his legacy. As he emerges from Malachor, he finds the galaxy to be a very different place than he remembers, but he also has a lot of secrets buried in places around the galaxy, and we're going to follow that. Hera is now a rebel commander. She wears a rebel captain. She wears the captain rank on her sleeve, so she's looking more like a rebel officer. And she's more a full military leader than we've seen in the past. But Kanan is perhaps the most changed. As you saw in the trailer, he's let his hair grow, his beard grow out. I'm seeing someone dressed up as Kanan here in the front row. Sorry, you got your work cut out for you. He wears a mask to conceal his ruined eyes. He cannot see, at least not in the physical world, but his meditations in the Force have further opened up his inner eye. In his journey through the Force, he seeks a future direction, and he'll find a life form like no other. This ancient creature that you see here of the Force, known as the Bendu, who is voiced by Doctor Who legend Tom Baker. Dave's inspiration for the Bendu just comes out of a lot of the exploration he did in the Clone Wars, that we know the history of Jedi and Sith. They are our go-to examples when we talk about Force users, but the galaxy is a very old, very strange place. And the Force predates the Jedi and Sith. It's always been there. And so there are beings and creatures that have been in touch with it long before their struggle ever happened. So Bendu calls himself the one in the middle. And part of the inspiration for his design, Dave Filoni told the animators when looking at Bendu, when designing him and animating him, imagine him to be something that the Henson shop would have created in the mid-'80s, to be this enormous, gigantic, imposing thing. And I think they really captured that look here. He's definitely fantastical, and the fact that we've got Tom Baker voicing him really, really makes him special. Now, on the bad guy side, obviously, we have Grand Admiral Thrawn. And he's being brought into the battle by Governor Price, who's standing there with him, and who we've spoken about since the very start of Rebels. We haven't seen until now. She's a female Imperial official who represented Lothal in the Imperial Senate, and the Imperial Council, I mean. And she's been strangely absent from this planet. The escalating rebellion has brought her back, and with her she brings Grand Admiral Thrawn to solve this problem. Now, the idea of using Thrawn in Rebels actually dates back to the very genesis of the show. We had tossed out the idea, and it's no secret that many on the story team are big fans of this character and fans of the trilogy that Timothy Zahn wrote in the 90s that brought Thrawn to life. So I'm really talking specifically about Dave Filoni and Kiri Hart. They're big Thrawn fans. So Dave threw out the idea of bringing Thrawn into the show. We didn't go into using him in season 1 because we thought he wasn't there yet. Our heroes hadn't earned the right to have this kind of villain yet. And but he's been orbiting our mind. And so when season 3 started to take shape, Dave brought back the idea of bringing Thrawn in. So we knew it was going to be a big deal. And our heroes have now escalated to the level where they could conceivably end up on Thrawn's radar. So we decided to go for it. So after some animation tests came in, and we had some of the voice work laid in by Lars Mikkelsen, who's doing the voice, I said to my boss, Kiri, she's the head of the story group, I said, we really need to bring Tim Zahn in on this and let him see what we're doing. Because I didn't want Tim to find out when the rest of the world found out. I wanted, obviously, him to be on the know of what we're doing. So believe it or not, it was last year's Salt Lake City Comic-Con that I was here with Tim, and we were having dinner, and I was like, look for an invite from Lucasfilm soon, because we really want you to come down. We've got some cool stuff here to see. And so I was dying to tell him what it was. I couldn't tell him then. We brought him down, and of course, we brought him to this boardroom, and we've got all these execs, like from the animation team with them, and team from the publishing team. We've got a camera on. And Tim's like, obviously he knows something's going on, but what? And so we finally tell him that Thrawn is coming back and he's going to be in an animated form, and he loved it. We brought him, we screened for him some footage, we showed him some concept art, and he was very happy to see Thrawn celebrated this way. And our publishing team extended an invitation for him to do a brand new Thrawn novel set in this current continuity, and he jumped at the chance, so he's been working on that novel, which features Thrawn and also Governor Price, and takes place before the events of Rebels Season 3. And Tim has been in communication with our head writer, Henry Gilroy, as Season 3 has come together. So he's been able to field and bounce Thrawn questions off of him, give him input where we think it's important. So it's absolutely important that Tim Zahn had awareness and involvement of this character being used in the series. And we couldn't be happier that he's happy about it. So let's take a little look at Thrawn. Here's his animation model. And here is a spot that was only just yesterday posted on Disney XD.
War. I study the art of war. Work to defend it. To defeat an enemy, you must know them. I will pull the rebels apart, piece by piece. They'll be the architects of their own destruction.
So Season 3 debuts on Disney XD on September 24th, just a few short weeks away. Check your local listings. Season 2 just came out on Blu-ray for those who need to catch up and get their memories refreshed. In addition to Season 3 returning, I can confirm that yes, Rebels Recon will be returning to StarWars.com, which means my pal Andy Gutierrez will continue to harass me with your fan questions that you have tweeted to the Star Wars account using the hashtag RebelsRecon. So please, if you have any Rebels Recon questions or Rebels questions, tweet them to @StarWars with the hashtag @RebelsRecon, and we will answer them on the Rebels Recon show. So, and always keep checking StarWars.com for the latest on Rebels. That brings us to Rogue One. Before we look ahead, I kind of want to look back. I want to look back to the fall of 2012, and that was when John Knoll, Chief Creative Officer and Visual Effects Legend at ILM, he pops his head into my office, this office that I share with Leland Chi, a fellow story group member, keeper of the holocron. And he pitched to us the story of Rogue One. The reason he pitched it to us, because he was about to go, down the hall to pitch it to Kathleen Kennedy, our boss, and Curie Hart, the head of story. And he wanted to make sure that it got the blessing of a couple of Star Wars nerds like me and Leland. And he wanted to make sure that he wasn't missing any steps or misrepresenting some aspect of the universe. But we loved it. We said, go for it. It's such a great idea. It's basically taking the story that's only hinted at in the opening crawl of Episode 4, New Hope. Rebel spaceships striking from a hidden base that won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. During the battle, Rebel spies managed to steal the plans of the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star. That's what it says in that crawl. Taking that, expanding it, making a movie about it, and letting us know about these characters that until now we had never heard about seemed like a natural. So we said, go for it. So within short order, the movie was greenlit with Gareth Edwards at the helm, working from a story by John Knoll with Gary Whitta and a script by Chris Weitz and Tony Gilroy. The movie wrapped production earlier this summer and is now in deep post-production. But I'm going to turn the clock back to before cameras ever rolled. Let's go to the very first public discussion on the subject. It's Anaheim, it's 2012 celebration, and I'm hosting the Future Filmmaker panel. And I bring Gareth Edwards on stage along with Curie Hart and Kathleen Kennedy. So let's have a look at that. Welcome, Gareth.
I'm really quite nervous right now.
That's all right.
It's a bit intimidating. I'm glad I can't see with all the lights.
As you'll find, Star Wars is one big happy family. We're all here because of our love for Star Wars. This is your first celebration.
Yeah.
What's the most amazing thing you've seen?
I'm not going to be very original now, I'm sorry, Kathy, but the most amazing moment probably was I was sat back there when you showed the trailer for The Force Awakens. And I sat there like a filmmaker going, yeah, come on then. Because I hadn't actually seen it. You don't get to see it because it was kind of a surprise as well. And you think, come on then. And then it started, and I could feel myself, the tears going in my eyes. And I was next to all my colleagues, all the producers and stuff working on our movie. I'm like, don't cry, because I was going to have to wipe it away, and they would see that movement. And I was really good, like, I'm not crying. The John Williams score coming in, I'm not crying. And then as soon as hand turned up and said we're home, this tear just went down. And it was like, oh God.
Well, I mean, with that in mind, I can't wait to see what kind of footage you have to wow us all.
Don't put him under too much pressure.
It doesn't work like that.
Shooting.
It's not like the more you scream, the more footage gets generated. We haven't started filming. We don't film until the summer.
Wait, so you have there's no footage.
It's impossible because we haven't shot yet. We're still in pre-production.
Pablo, come here.
You came here with nothing.
I came here to talk to you.
Okay. Is there really like nothing we could look at? I mean,
There might be something.
that was a special video. That was the only video that was shown at that celebration. And we made a deal that it's a celebration exclusive, so it's not going to be shown anywhere. But I figured I could get away with showing a video of the video. So, with things short order, things have changed. I mean, like a lot has since happened. Rogue One was shot at Pinewood Studios outside of England and on location around the world. Here is Gareth and the cast at the Cardington Sheds. It's an enormous airship hangar outside of London that's been used to shoot such movies as the Nolan Batman movies and this little known film called Star Wars. These sheds were actually used in an establishing shot in the original New Hope for the Masasi temples, the rebel base on Yavin 4. And for Rogue One, they were again turned into the ancient Masasi temple that houses X-Wing fighters, rebels, and much, much more. I was fortunate enough to visit the set during the shoot and got to see Gareth in action. He has a very bold visual style. He shoots his action in such a way that captures scale. I mean, you definitely see that in his movies like Monster and Godzilla. And he took advantage of the lightweight digital cameras that are being used in the shoot to have the freedom afforded by the technology to shoot, handheld, to do a lot of quick setups, to shoot a lot of takes. And you would never know which direction he'd be shooting in. And what I noticed while being on set is that all the ADs, all the crews, all the gaffer, the technicians are dressed in Rebel pilot and Rebel technician uniforms. That's because if the camera swings in a direction that no one expected and there was film crew there, they're dressed apart so they don't stand out. Thought it was really clever. This is our cast of characters in the first publicity still that was revealed when Rogue One entered production. And we've since got to know a bit more about these characters, and we've also seen them in a bit of action.
State your name for the record.
Jen Arson.
Forgery of imperial documents, possession of stolen property, aggravated assault, resisting arrest.
On your own from the age of 15. Reckless, aggressive, and undisciplined.
This is a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel.
We have a mission for you. A major weapons test is imminent. We need to know what it is and how to destroy it.
Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
What will you do when they catch you? What will you do if they break you? If you continue to fight, what will you become?
When that trailer debuted in the spring, it was fun. You could not walk 5 feet at Lucasfilm without hearing that siren because everyone was watching this trailer on their computer throughout the day, so you just got used to it after a while. So let's just go through some of our heroes that we're going to meet in this story. Felicity Jones plays Jyn Erso. And she's brought before the rebels because of her past connections, one of which is her estranged father, Galen Erso, who's played by Mads Mikkelsen. Coincidentally, the brother of the guy we've got voicing Thrawn. So a key to getting into Star Wars is having the last name, Mikkelsen. Well, anyway, the Empire is up to something big, which is drawing threads from her forgotten and buried past to the surface. She's lived a life on the run, a life with no allegiances other than to her own survival. But now she's got to think of a bigger picture, a picture as big as the Death Star itself. Now, actually, before we get into our next character, I just want to say, don't fall into the mistake that I've seen in some corners of the internet, and I know I shouldn't be going to some of these corners of the internet, but still, Don't fall into the mistake of lumping Jin and Rey into the same bucket because of the most superficial reasons. As you get to know Jin, you're going to get to see how different she is. For instance, she knows full well her past. She knows where she comes from, and that has cast a shadow over her life. That's all I'm saying about that. So next up, we have Diego Luna, who plays Captain Cassian Andor. Cassian is a rebel soldier. He's an Alliance intelligence operative, and he's been fighting the Empire all his life. In his role as a soldier and a spy, he often operates alone. He's done things, dangerous things, regrettable things. That is, if he ever gave himself time to regret, he just pushes forward with the next assignment because that's what he does. There's no time to navel gaze in the rebellion. That next assignment that he gets happens to be involving Jyn Erso. And when you get someone as committed as Cassian next to someone as rebellious as Jyn on the same mission, well, it ends up getting interesting. Especially if that mission gets you into the heart of enemy territory. Next up, we have another fan favorite. We have Alan Tudyk playing K2SO. K2SO is a reprogrammed KX series Imperial battle droid from Arrakeen Industries. Place your order in today, please. He's a bit of an alarming sight if you see a towering Imperial logo-wearing droid in the middle of a secret rebel base, and K2's personality isn't exactly a warm and fuzzy one, so he takes a while to warm up to. But that said, I noticed that he has played really well in the trailers, and people seem to like him instantly, and I think that has a lot to do with the person who's playing him. Alan was like, he was a real trooper. He had to fit into that costume. No, I'm just kidding. He wore a ridiculous motion capture suit on set while wearing a set of stilts that made him 7'1", the same height as K2. And every time he walked by you, you were like, please don't fall, please don't fall, please don't fall. But these stilts are amazing. He could run, he could jump, he could climb stairs, he could do anything in them. So he's really gotten into the role. We are very fortunate to have a couple of international superstars in the cast. We've got Jiang Wen, who plays Baze Malbus, and Donnie Yen is Chirrut Imwe. Now, Chirrut is an ancient, well, he comes from an ancient spiritual warrior clan and with deep convictions and beliefs. He is blind, but he is physically capable and has obviously found ways to balance out his effectiveness by relying on other skills and years of training. Now, his spiritual ways stand in very stark contrast with the attitude of his best friend, Baze. Baze is his partner, and he's often complaining about Chirrut's beliefs, because Baze would rather put his faith in his heavy repeating blaster, which he uses to good effect in the film, I should say. Now, even though Baze and Chirrut have the same shared history, they come from the same place, and had much of the same schooling, they could not be more opposite, but they are always there for each other. Riz Ahmed plays Bodhi Rook. Now, Rook is a former Imperial pilot whose defection kicks off a massive manhunt that sets the story of Rogue One into motion. Rook hails from an occupied Imperial planet, and his conscience won't let him haul material for the Empire anymore. When he defects, he brings word of a massive Imperial project. Now, all these characters and more were seen in action in a special behind-the-scenes reel that was presented at Celebration Europe, that I'm happy to show here as well. It takes a look at what it's like to be on set of a Gareth Edwards movie.
It's about the humanity of it, which just makes the whole thing so real.
Ready? And action!
Your heart's beating and you're actually in this situation. You get something very genuine that you couldn't have planned.
You'll actually compose shots that if we were on a green screen set, you just wouldn't have known were available.
pressure's so high. Like, we're making a film that's right touching my favourite movie of all time, but then if you're too respectful of it, that you dare do anything new or different, take a risk, then what are you bringing to the table? Really where a film crew like this really comes to their own. That kid, when you were 4 years old, grew up with Star Wars figures, it's a bit like just being that kid again. You sort of go like, "Arr, arr, arr."
May the Force be with us.
Here's Ben Mendelsohn. He's playing director Orson Krennic. Krennic is supervising the Death Star operation, and at long last, this long stall project is finally nearing completion. Krennic is a volatile, driven man. He's a man of science who strives to rise in the ranks of the Empire, and the Death Star is his ticket to an audience with the reclusive Emperor. But Krennic is not of the Coruscant elite. He doesn't talk in the proper political tones of some of the other officers, and his determination makes him especially dangerous and unpredictable. Krennic surrounds himself with elite stormtroopers that he calls Death Troopers. These soldiers are taller, stronger, and more capable than the standard stormtroopers. Sorry, 501st, it's a truth. They operate in small teams and are very effective. Here, they definitely know how to strike a pose, too. So. I assure you that's not his toy. But of course, we will see the standard stormtroopers in the film as well. And in the interest of the 501st, these troopers are slightly different than what you've seen in the original trilogy. And here's why. The design philosophy going into Rogue One, shared by Gareth, shared by John Knoll, shared by folks like Doug Chang, Neil Scanlon, all the production and design team, when it comes to elements that come from the previous classic movies, for them, they were going for how you remember them looking, not necessarily how they were built and constructed the first time around. So for example, the vents on the side of Stormtrooper's helmet in the original trilogy, they were just a decal, they were just a sticker. Obviously, they intended them to be vents, but production necessities and budget and time back in the original trilogy meant, let's just do a sticker, no one's gonna notice. Of course, the fans noticed and they built their stickers into their costume design. But now, you know what, it's now 2016, we can afford to cut vents into helmets. So, gone are the stickers, these are proper helmets, these are proper vents on the front, back, sides of the Stormtrooper helmet. Star Wars is in a better place and the Stormtroopers can now breathe easier for it.
Good.
Here they are on location at the Maldives, which doubles for the planet Scarif in the movie. And the last character I want to get into is Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera. Now, Saw has had a really interesting journey onto the big screen. He started off many years ago as an idea that George Lucas had. Back in 2007 to about 2009, he was in early development for a proposed live-action television series that would have explored the criminal underworld of the Star Wars galaxy. It would have been set before the events of Episode 4, and among other things, would also explore some of the origins of the Rebel Alliance. And the idea that he had was that Saw Gerrera was a key figure in that era. He saw that's so hard to say. He saw Mr. Gerrera as a battle-worn extremist who had been pushed to the limits by his long-burning fight against the Empire. Now, as we know, that TV series never got off the ground. It certainly spawned a lot of rumors and speculation, but it just didn't come to pass for any number of reasons, one of which George tends to think really big, and he envisioned a TV show that was ultimately impossible to produce at the time. But it certainly influenced Star Wars: The Clone Wars. That was in production at the same time. In fact, the script supervisor would bounce between both series at some point. There are clues, hints, and story threads that point towards this unproduced live-action TV series all throughout the Clone Wars, going as far back to the end of Season 2, when Ahsoka and Plo Koon go into the Coruscant underworld looking for Aurra Sing. So if ever there's another reason to rewatch Clone Wars, watch it with that in mind, that there were little hints and elements of what was going to come in an imagined future. Anyway, Saw Gerrera got his cinematic debut on the storyline in the 5th season of Star Wars Rebels. In it, the Republic, unable to fight openly on a separatist planet of Onderon, begins funding, training, and equipping a bunch of local insurgents to fight a proxy war for them. These are the Onderonian rebels led by Stila Gerrera and her brother Saw. And in that storyline, Saw is a brash hothead who gets captured and tortured by the King's Guard, and he loses his sister in the fight in a way that really, really hurts him. So that was Saw's origin. Early in the development of Rogue One, the storytellers knew that they wanted a battle-worn extremist rebel in the storyline. And we had Saw already developed, so we passed along all the Saw reference material we could, and we all came to the agreement that he's the perfect character to put into this story. And that really illustrates a big part of what we at the Story Group do. We not only help creatives tell us the Star Wars stories that they want to tell, but we find ways to make it better and make it better mesh with the bigger Star Wars universe. So from the very start, as Saw became part of the story, they imagined only one actor that they wanted to play him, and that was Forrest Whitaker. And we're very fortunate to have a talent like Forrest agree to join this adventure and play this very memorable role. Now, people have noticed that Forrest looks a little different from the teaser trailer to the second release trailer. All I can say to you is that you will see both looks in the movie. So speculate on that.
The world is coming undone. Imperial flags reign across the galaxy.
Can you be trusted without your shackles?
Let's just get this over with, shall we?
We've a mission for you. A major weapons test is imminent. We need to know how to destroy it.
If you're really doing this, I want to help.
Good.
Good. I've been recruiting for the rebellion for a long time.
You destroyed our home. I fight the Empire now.
I fear nothing. All is as the Force wills it.
The captain says you are a friend. I will not kill you.
Thanks. There isn't much time.
Every day they grow stronger.
There is a 97.6% chance of failure. He means well.
This is our chance to make a real difference. Are you with me?
All the way.
So what happens next? Well, we continue waiting, but in short order, the march to Rogue One is going to kick into hyperdrive. You saw this week that the merchandise for the movie has begun to be unveiled. Some of it's on pre-order already. Star Wars collectors are starting to know just what they're getting into. And if you haven't already, check out the Go Rogue hashtag campaign on social media, where we've enlisted a bunch of fan filmmakers to create their own Rogue One inspired stories through Star Wars toys, and encourage all of you to do the same for a grand prize that includes a private screening of the movie at Lucasfilm headquarters. We've got books waiting in the wings, ready to fill out the Rogue One adventure. Among them, Star Wars Catalyst by Jim Lucino, that takes place before the events of the movie and lets you explore the relationship between Galen Erso and Orson Krennic. Alexander Freed is going to be writing the novelization that comes out when the movie is released. And I'm happy to say that I am almost done writing Rogue One, the Ultimate Visual Guide, that comes out with the movie. So, published by DK, it is very much in the vein of the visual dictionary, but it's bigger. It combines all the detail and photography of the visual dictionary and includes the artwork that you would normally expect in an incredible cross-sections book. It is all together in one book. There's much, much more to come, but we're still 103 days to go. December 16th will be here before you know it. Rebels will be here even sooner. I think we've got like about 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know how much time we have, but I'd love to take some questions from you. I think we have microphones set up, so we'll see if we can sneak in a few questions. Keeping in mind that I may not be able to answer it, but I always do appreciate your interest.
Hi, my name's Danielle. I am interested to find out if there will be any Rebels Easter eggs in Rogue One.
Rebels Easter eggs in Rogue One. All I can say is, from both directions, we've got people who are working on both projects that have very much an interest in connecting both projects. So keep your eyes open on both Rebels and Rogue. We have a Sabine here.
First off, apology accepted.
You look great.
Thank you.
And you're relevant for a few more weeks, so just rock it.
I'm wearing it during.
Oh, you are? Yeah, there you go. You're good. You're good.
We're good.
Right time?
Sorry. Just was curious. It seems like Ezra and Sabine's relationship is kind of going more together, or they're going to be a love interest for Sabine later on, or?
You know, right now, you gotta admit, when season 1 started off, it was pretty clear to read Ezra's mind when he looked at Sabine. But honestly, I like to think that they've matured more than that. And while I think Sabine no longer looks as Ezra as the little kid, I don't know if that necessarily is in the cards. But people see things that I don't when they watch the show, so I don't want to shoot down any theory right off the bat. All right, good. We've got Ray here.
Hi. On behalf of all the cosplayers in the room, can we see the Jyn Erso picture again to see the color of her shirt?
And can we get this person to stand in front of us so we can see how close she got to? I will ask the AV guys if you could throw up the slide, and I'll have that on the screen for the rest of the next 2.5 minutes. There we go. You can study that closely. All right. We got a kid. Uh-oh, we got a kid. What do we got?
Who's your favorite Star Wars character?
What's that?
Who is your favorite Star Wars character?
My favorite Star Wars character, hands down, and has been for almost 40 years, is R2-D2. He's the only one who gets things done.
Okay, so first off, I think I matched the color pretty fine.
Oh, look at that. You're looking great.
So I've been hearing that this has the tone of this is really different from the other ones, really gritty and fast-paced and stuff, and there's going some things here and there. How would you at least describe the tone of it?
I would say a war movie is a very good description of what this movie is. I don't think it does anything that pushes the boundaries too far beyond what we expect from a Star Wars movie. You know, you're not going to get blood and gore from a Star Wars movie. Don't expect it to be something you can't take your kids to. But at the same time, you know, there's humor in it. There's a sense of, you know, the humor comes from the characters, but it is really grounded in characters that have boots on the ground, and there's less of a sense that any of them have a magical power that will save them out of a situation. We're watching some flesh and blood mortals in some incredibly difficult situations. And I think that makes them, the fact that they're all the more vulnerable makes you want to root for them even harder. So I hope that answers your question.
Rogue One or Rebels.
Okay.
But there's currently 17,000 plus people that have sent a petition, and I was wondering if you could maybe give like your own personal opinion on it about maybe bringing the events of the Old Republic back into as canon.
Well, right now, the folks at BioWare and EA are currently continuing to expand and add to their Old Republic narrative. And we want to give them the space that they need to tell the story of the Old Republic MMO game. So right now, we basically have 2 story threads in concurrent development. We have the stuff that we're doing in the film and television book space, but we are really letting EA and BioWare continue what they're doing in the Old Republic space. Now, should those 2 ever cross, well, I never say never, but right now, as of today, that's what's happening. Yeah. We're getting at time. I think this is going to be the last question, but we've got Ray to do it, so we're all in good hands.
In the Rebels, in season 2, the very last episode, what happened to us?
All right, we're ending it with an easy question. Thank you. What do you think happened? Do you have an idea? You don't know? Shrug shoulders. Me too. I don't know. All right. I will tell you that story is not over yet. And Dave Filoni is very interested in answering your questions, not in person, but through the course of the Rebel storyline. So you will find out. And I am at time, and I want to thank you all for being such a great audience. I hope to see you watching Rebels online, and I'm on Twitter at Pablo Hidalgo. Don't be a stranger. Thank you very much.